From silly mishaps to lackluster performances,
Não é que tá de cabeça para baixo, capotou.
or simply failing to deliver for their teams, these F1 drivers' careers were never the same after an incident. Whether due to their own terrible performances or some mistake blown out of proportion, here's F1 drivers who destroyed their careers in seconds. Taking the 10th spot is Karun Chandhok, whose Formula 1 career lasted only 11 races. The Indian driver, after several unremarkable years in GP2, got his shot at Formula 1 limelight in 2010 with Hispania Racing Team, one of the rookie outfits that season, alongside Virgin and Team Lotus. However, any aspirations of a promising rookie season were swiftly dashed. In the first round of the season in Bahrain, Chandhok couldn't complete his first laps until qualifying due to a hydraulic issue and qualified last, almost 2 seconds behind his teammate Bruno Senna. Despite a disastrous weekend, Chandhok's misfortune culminated in a first-lap crash, effectively capping off a forgettable debut. His Formula 1 stint never bounced back, and with a sluggish car plus a couple more retirements from crashes and a modest 14th place finish in Australia as a best one, HRT showed him the door after the German Grand Prix, being replaced by Sakun Yamamoto. The next year he served as a reserve for Team Lotus, filling in for Jarno Trulli at the German Grand Prix before switching gears to touring cars in Formula E and eventually making the leap to journalism. At number 9, we've got another driver who, much like Chandhok, saw his Formula 1 dreams cut short sooner than expected. Enter Roberto Merhi. After making his way up the ranks with some success, he stepped into the F1 scene as a test driver for Caterham in 2014. The following year, he got his shot with Mano Marussia, a team struggling with financial woes, skipping past Formula 2 altogether. But with Mano, he just couldn't find the pace. Despite gradually getting better compared to his teammate Will Stevens, his rocky start led to him getting the boot after 13 races, replaced by Alexander Rossi. He squeezed in a couple more races before calling it quits on his short-lived F1 journey. Post-F1, he tried his luck in endurance racing, competed full-time in Formula 2 in 2018, and participated in some Formula E races with Mahindra in 2023. Next up is Kanok Nissany, a figure often dubbed one of Formula 1's worst drivers, and his tale is quite the oddity. Nissany was a successful entrepreneur and businessman who, upon discovering the world of racing, fell in love and decided he wanted to compete in Formula 1. So, at the ripe age of 38, Nissany dove headfirst into the world of motorsport. He raced in the Hungarian Formula 2000 Championship before taking on International Formula 3000 and the World Series Light, with poor results and facing drivers 20 years younger than him. However, that didn't take Formula 1 out of his mind, as he got a test with Jordan in 2004, where he finished 9 seconds behind his teammate Nick Heidfeld before being announced as a reserve driver for Minardi for 2005. His big moment arrived at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he hit the track for the first free practice sessions. Nissany found himself trailing by nearly 13 seconds, lagging almost 7 behind the other Minardi. Adding insult to injury, he veered off track, landing in the gravel and requiring a crane rescue, effectively drawing the curtains on his sporting journey. Now, you're not going to believe number 1 on the list, but before we go there, we have to go to number 7. Nicholas Latifi, who, after finishing as runner-up in Formula 2 in 2019, made his Formula 1 debut in 2020 with Williams, partly thanks to his significant financial backing and without great expectation placed on him in the top category. The Canadian driver's career was soon doomed, consistently outperformed by his teammate George Russell and later Alexander Albon, with few notable performances, such as 2-point finishes in Hungary and Belgium in 2021. And indeed, his sporting career spanned 3 full seasons due to his financial backing, as the results were never good. Latifi will always be remembered for causing that accident in the final laps of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which triggered the safety car that crowned Max Verstappen champion that year. After his time in Formula 1, he announced that he would take a break from racing to study business. Coming in at the next spot is Marcus Winkelhock, who, despite his Formula 1 career lasting just 1 race, had his moments of glory in the category. This German driver, after competing in touring car racing and single-seater racing for several years, stepped into the role of reserve driver for Midland in Formula One in 2006. The team was later rebranded as Spiker in 2007 and was the slowest on the grid. Winkelhock's moment in the spotlight arrived at the 2007 European Grand Prix. Following the dismissal of Christian Albers, he was thrust into the race, drawing criticism from seasoned drivers for his lack of track experience. As anticipated, Winkelhock struggled right from the start, trailing his teammate Adrian Sutil by a hefty margin of 1.5 seconds during Saturday's qualifying session, who himself was lagging behind the next car by a similar margin. Spirits were low for Sunday, but in an utterly bizarre strategy, Spiker decided to send Winkelhock out from the pit lane on extreme wet tires despite the track being completely dry. However, shortly after the race started, it began to pour down at the Nürburgring, and while all the other drivers struggled to find grip with dry tires and rushed to the pits, Winkelhock found himself leading the pack before the red flag halted the race. But at the restart, everyone quickly passed Winkelhock, who eventually retired due to a mechanical failure on lap 13, putting an end to his Formula One career as he made a move on to compete in touring and endurance racing. The German driver led a total of 6 laps in that Grand Prix, holding the record for the highest percentage of laps led out of those contested, with over 40%. He also holds the unique record of leading in every Formula One race he has competed in. A brief yet noteworthy F1 career. At number 5, we have Nikita Mazepin, whose brief Formula One career was surrounded by controversy from start to finish and doomed even before it began. Following his Formula 2 campaigns in 2019 and 2020, which saw him clinch some victories in podiums, Mazepin's entry into Haas for the 2021 season stirred significant turmoil. Haas, grappling with financial challenges, leaned on Mazepin's backing from his wealthy father, Dmitry, a Russian oligarch. The backlash intensified when Mazepin faced public outrage for a social media video showing him inappropriately touching a woman, sparking widespread calls to bar his F1 debut. Despite the pressures, Haas opted to keep him for the 2021 season, driven by their need for funding. However, it quickly became apparent that Mazepin wasn't up to par for the category. He crashed on the opening lap of his debut race and consistently lagged behind his teammate Mick Schumacher in terms of pace. Despite this, plans were in place for Mazepin to continue into 2022. However, following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the FIA decided to ban Russian drivers from all competitions, forcing Mazepin to bid farewell to Formula One. Number 4 spotlights Jean-Denis Delatraz, who, after stints in touring car races and International Formula 3000, seized his moment in Formula One in 1994 with LaRousse at the season's final race in Australia. Delatraz quickly destroyed his Formula One career, qualifying second to last and trailing at the back of the pack throughout the race, significantly off the pace and lapped by Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher as early as lap 10. The Swiss driver called it quits on lap 57, with the front runners already 10 laps ahead. Ironically, Delatraz was penalized for speeding in the pit lane during that race. In 1995, however, he was announced by the Pacific team to participate in the last 5 races of the season, but his performance was so poor that he only competed in 2 of those races before bidding farewell to Formula One forever. And wrapping up the 3rd spot is Giorgio Pantano, who during his karting days emerged as a young talent with a promising future. He clinched the German F3 Championship in 2000 and underwent various F1 tests with Benetton, McLaren and Minardi in the following years. His 3rd place finish in the 2003 F3000 season put him in touch with Jaguar, but he was ultimately rejected in favor of Christian Klein. Pantano secured a deal with Jordan for the same year, marking his Formula One debut at the Australian Grand Prix. However, Pantano struggled right out of the gate, consistently falling short compared to his teammate Nick Heidfeld. Financial constraints forced Pantano to relinquish his seat to Timo Glock for the Canadian Grand Prix, where Glock secured a point, something Pantano failed to achieve throughout the season. With just 3 races remaining in the season, Pantano was shown the door, prompting him to pivot to GP2 in a bid to stage a comeback to F1, a dream that never materialized. Securing the runner-up position is Taki Inoue, famously self-proclaimed the worst driver in Formula One history. After stints in touring cars and later Formula Ford 1600 and Formula 3, he took advantage of the F1 boom in Japan to break into the scene. Inoue made his debut with Simtek at his home Grand Prix in 1994 and completed a full season in 1995 with footwork. Across 18 races, he retired from 13, consistently lagging behind his teammate with numerous accidents and, as he confessed years later, not a single overtaking maneuver. Yet, Inoue's legacy transcends his lackluster performances, as he holds the bizarre distinction of being struck not once but twice by the safety car. The first incident occurred in Monaco, after the safety car collided with a crane and then struck Inoue after he had retired from the race. The second peculiar incident occurred in Hungary, when once again after retiring, poor Inoue found himself dealing with a fire in his car when the safety car ran over him again. At number 1, we have none other than Yuji Ide, regarded as the worst driver in Formula One history. After competing in some touring car competitions and also in single-seaters without very good results, at the age of 31, Ide became one of the oldest rookies in F1 when he joined the newly formed Japanese team Super Aguri for 2006. His Formula One journey was virtually doomed from the outset, with Ide displaying notably slower pace than his teammate Takuma Sato, both in qualifying and during races, characterized by clumsy and outdated driving maneuvers. In a practice session in Australia, Ide caused a red flag by spinning on track, during which they had to explain to him how to reverse to stop blocking the track. His epitaph came in San Marino, where Ide collided with Christian Albers, causing the latter to roll over several times. After that, the FIA revoked Ide's super license, marking the end of his F1 career as he retreated to racing in Japan. And if you've had enough of sports careers as bad as these, check out why Formula One has a Max Verstappen problem.